Is it time to panic? The Sun Devils, they lost a game. Or is this just another step with the bamboo grown? We're going to talk about it. A special edition with some special guests. It's PHNX Sun Devils. Happy Marvelous Monday here on the PHNX Sun Devils show, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by Circle K. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. You do not hear the sweet tones of one Anthony Totri. No. You're stuck with me today, but don't worry. Just Erik Ruby here. Psych. We got some fantastic guests for you today. Ralph Amsden will be joining the show in a little bit, but of course, coming up first, we're going to have to bring in the man, the myth, the legend. You all know him, and you can follow him on Twitter at Jordan Hamm, but it's Jordan Hamm. Hello, welcome into PHNX Sun Devils. How are you doing, Jordan?
I'm doing good. I'm used to being an opening act for Ralph, so this is perfect.
Yeah, this is just getting you comfortable, right? I don't want to take you out of your comfort zone or anything.
Exactly. Actually, fun fact, Ralph was the officiant in my wedding.
Really?
So we are homies. So
oh wow,
good that it's always good to tag team with him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this show. I mean, obviously over the weekend was left some to be desired. I think as Sun Devil fans, we've been a little bit spoiled so far this year with just how incredible they've been at overachieving and overcoming these expectations that were placed at them at the beginning. But of course, while you're growing, Jordan, also comes some road bumps along the way. So before we get into all of that, I am under the impression that you're broadcasting from a very special location right now.
I am broadcasting from the lair of Anthony Totri's classroom right now. I knew that it was empty, and there's not really a lot of empty spots in Cronkite. So I sprinted there from my car. And yeah, I'm going to have to do something to the classroom, maybe leave him a message or, pretend like it's haunted and there's a ghost haunting him or something like that.
It haunts me, the fact that they let Anthony Totri teach. That's the main thing to me. I don't think you got to haunt anything in there. That is a cursed classroom. I'm just kidding. I don't know where Totri is, but I know he's enjoying his day off. Okay, before we get into the nitty gritty about what to react from this game, I want to talk about the whole kicking thing, because obviously everybody knows what I'm talking about. Kenny Dillingham, after the game against Cincinnati, said they're holding open kicking tryouts and that the kicking was atrocious. You were at the press conference today, his media availability. I'm assuming he clarified some things.
He wasted no time sitting down and kind of laying it all out there. And first thing was he apologized. He took accountability. He said he didn't really handle that situation in the best way. And I agree with that. I think, there are ways that you can do it. I know he's fired up, but he really pointed to the fact that he was affecting kids and their, how they react. It's not just players. It's not necessarily, it's closer to the pros, but it's not the pros quite yet.
Right.
So he really stepped in, and that's what I asked him. I said, why did you feel the need, or at what point did you feel the need to clarify your statements or make an apology? And he said that he was affecting kids. And he said he has a lot of confidence in the 3 kickers on the roster. They are evaluating people that do email about that position, and if they are able to join the roster and if they are up to the standard that they need, that they may try to add someone. So it really is. He didn't shut the door on a tryout necessarily, but he also, I think, took a couple steps back now that he's removed from the situation, and he took accountability because I know that there's been a bit of backlash with that, and also. Some people that are kind of all for it. So it's been an interesting 48 hours for sure.
Yeah, it's weird. It seems like week after week, somehow, some way, Kenny or the Sun Devils are making some sort of national news, right? Whether it's Scat going for nearly 300 all-purpose yards, whether it's the Utah post game where Kenny's partying, I was one of these guys, or now, of course, it's the kicking situation as well. I think two things can be true at once. It's one of my favorite, phrases. I think he's right. The way that he was describing the kicking game and the need to probably revamp that room a little bit or maybe look for some fresh blood, I think is not the wrong approach. I mean, you can't go into a game where you have no confidence in your kicker. And if as a coach, you've lost all confidence in your kicker, like you have to solve that problem. But at the same time, even if I think that you're correct in what you're saying, your approach as a public facing figure, and especially for the type of coach that Kenny Dillingham has built himself up to be, which, he's not faking it, but he's a player first coach. He's relating to these kids. When somebody who you relate to and who you're close with says something negative about you, Jordan, that hits a little bit closer to home. So I feel like from a player perspective, you have to manage that, like, hey, especially for kicking, like, if he went, let's say Jeff Sims threw 2 interceptions, if you just go out and say, we have a quarterback problem, it's pretty easy to deduce who you're talking about. It's the same thing with the kicking situation. So I like the fact that he apologized. You take accountability, especially because you get so much attention because of it as well. But what else did he have to say about the Cincinnati game in general? Because I know that he tweeted, and I know he said that they were thoroughly outcoached. Did he come away with any other different perspectives after watching the game over again?
Yeah, I think he may be revamping how he approaches fourth downs. He mentioned that when you miss a fourth down, you get stopped and you're at home. That's one thing because you have the crowd behind you and the defense. It's not as dramatic of a swing. But when you're on the road, he's mentioned a couple times that there are these like 21-point swings that can happen with this team, and maybe to be a bit more conservative on the road. And I think that that's probably a good point. And you can go either way on the fourth down calls. With a backup in, I think it's one thing if Sam Leavitt's in and you have, your offense running as it's been used to doing the past couple of weeks. That's one thing. But you have Jeff in. It sure felt like the Bearcats were really keying in on Slattebo on both of those plays, and it really got shut down, and that was a massive swing. So he talked about being better in terms of not only communicating with his players with the kicking discussion, but also being better schematically. And he was looking back at some of those, and even when he tried to get tempo going on that fourth down, he said, I should have just shut up and let Marcus Arroyo call the call and let our blockers get in front of where they needed to be. So I think there's going to be a lot of growth from this game. They kept it close with a really good Cincinnati team. And the fact that at the beginning of the year, if you were to tell me that Cincinnati is where they're at and ASU hung with them and that they were a few plays away from really turning the tide, I think most ASU fans would be pretty happy with that.
Right. It's all about maintaining those expectations. And that is what I want to get to next. But I want to touch real quick on some of the stuff that you had just said, specifically talking about revamping how he approaches fourth downs. I like the aggression. I really do. And I like being able to keep a defense on their toes, but it needs to be in more, I guess, tasteful spots is to like kind of the way to say it, because I understand that, we're just, we're going to go for it, or it's fourth and short and we have Cam Slattebo and we could pick up a couple of yards. But I love that he's acknowledging, hey, maybe when we're on the road with a backup quarterback, we just need to play it safe, right? Especially on the road in the Big 12. These are tough games to play. And as much as ASU has overachieved and blown expectations out of the water, this is still not a team that boasts a ton of continuity, a ton of chemistry, where it's like, hey, in these fourth and short and these crucial situations, even when the momentum is against us, we consistently step up and step through and get there. And I think they can get to that point. They just haven't been there yet. And with a Cincinnati team that's so well coached, like Scott Satterfield's team was, where you're early in the game, the momentum has been shifting back and forth, and it's so it's just so early. Like, you don't want to risk it. And I've always appreciated Kenny's gung-ho-ness about everything, but I like the self-awareness aspect of it too. And the self-awareness and the getting better is kind of what is leading me to the main theme about all of this, which really, like, this team's going to be all right, Jordan. It's very rare that you see a team go from 3-9 to where they are in the next season, and it's just perfect. It's flawless. There's no road bumps. There's no poor performances. So far, their 2 losses are on the road to tough Big 12 teams, 2 of the best Big 12 teams record-wise in the conference, and tough places to play. There's no reason to panic in my eyes, considering they're already almost bowl eligible. Are you kind of sharing that same headspace with me?
100%. At the beginning of the year, I felt like I was stretching by predicting they would win 6 games. And they're already here through, 6 games, and now 5-2. But, you look at the growth, and we heard all about, and we got to see it firsthand with practice, of the change of the culture and the buy-in and the progress that they made. But that doesn't always lead to a change in the win column. And so far, we've seen that so far. And they haven't been blown out this year. They do have some really hard games, especially on the road this second half. But you have to see the growth that you have, and this roster that is going to return a lot if they're able to keep the gang together, from this year's roster to next year's roster. There's so much growth, and so much potential. And I think everybody does need to take a step back and be like, I'm mad because ASU didn't win their 6th game in 7 games. Like that is, if you were to tell me that at Big 12 Media Day, I would have been like, you are really drinking the Kool-Aid. But they've been able to turn that around and see that translate in the win column. And that's been so impressive by Kenny and the entire staff. And I think, just going real quick back to the 4th downs, like last year when it was 4th downs that didn't go well, Kenny would kind of be like, this is what we're going to be. I think seeing that growth, where today he's saying, you know what, we need to adapt. And there are times to put the pedal to the metal. There are times that we need to take it off and trust our defense. Like, that's growth in a head coach as well. And I think that's translated a lot too, to see, how he's been able to progress as the program's leader.
Well, and I think that's the exciting part, right? You mentioned that there's a lot of players from this year's roster that could be returning next year, and you do hope to keep them, considering the approach that the staff has taken as far as getting people who truly want to stay here. But as excited as we are about Kenny Dillingham right now, he should, and by all accounts will, because of his work ethic and the type of person that you can pick up that he is, continue to get better at coaching, at managing relationships strategically throughout his career. There are young people who could be fantastic at their jobs. Sometimes you still need a good amount of time to become like the best of the best. And so it's encouraging to see the success this early. But when you hit what I deem a necessary road bump, which is something that will test you, that will push you to change, but isn't demoralizing. I think Texas Tech is a fantastic example of that. You shoot yourself in the foot. It's definitely a winnable game. You don't get blown out by 50 on the road or at home, right? There are things that you can pick up on and change and to get better. And that's extremely exciting. I think it deserves a like. So make sure you guys hit that like button if you're in here right now, as Jordan Hamm is joining me. Ralph Amsden will be here later, but of course, Jordan, a reporter for Sports 360 AZ. You mentioned players who are, hopefully going to be coming back next year, and Sam Leavitt is among the highlights of that. But I'm not focused on next year. I'm focused on next game. Obviously, ASU has a bye week, and then they're taking on Oklahoma State on the road. I know Kenny gave an injury update on Sam at the press conference. What did he have to say?
Yeah, he said that it was probably 50-50 that he would be ready for Oklahoma State. Obviously, the bye is coming at a really good time in terms of this injury, giving him an extra week to recover. But he said 50-50, and then started to lean maybe even 60-40 that he won't play. But this week will tell a lot in terms of his evaluation and kind of where he's at. And look, he's the son of a linebacker. Like, Sam wants to be out there. That he doesn't shy away from hits. Him and Cam Slattebo are kind of like brothers in that way, where it's just like, yeah, let's go be the Bash Brothers for a little bit. So I know that once Sam is available, they're going to, get him back out on the field. But it is kind of a wait and see right now to see where he's at and make sure that he's not, there aren't any potential long-term lingering issues. And that's another thing with X Guillory, why he didn't play. He said the rest of the year, we don't want X at 85%. We want him fully healthy. So that's why they had him out for Cincinnati, hoping that he'll be good to go and be a 1-2 punch with Jordan Tyson.
I feel like they're going to take the cautious approach with Sam because the last thing you want to do is put him back out there, risk an injury that takes an even longer amount of time. And you're playing a little bit with house money. I know that's not how they're thinking about it, but that is kind of where you're at. So before we let you go off and teach, I am curious about your opinions on Jeff Sims, how the team looked like with him. And let's say hypothetically, 50-50 shot, Jeff Sims is your starting quarterback against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. How confident are you that the ASU can bounce back with him under center?
I think this week's going to be huge for Jeff Sims. Getting game example of where he was at. It felt like really just the offense as a whole struggled, and I don't know how much of that was having a backup quarterback in, and how much of it was just the Cincinnati defense that just flat out doesn't make mistakes. I know that Jeff probably has some throws that he would want back. But he didn't turn the ball over. That's a great starting point. And against Oklahoma State, you're going to see something similar. So how can they balance that out where it's not keen in on Cam Slattebo? How can you get Sims out in open space where he can run a little bit and hit some of those wide receivers down the field? There were a couple times where it looked like he had an open Jordan Tyson and the turf monster got him. In some cases, it was just bad luck. So I think seeing that jump, much like with Sam Leavitt, seeing game 1, game 2 of Sam Leavitt, and then seeing it game 3 with Texas State, and then it felt like things really started to open up. We might see the same thing from Jeff Sims, who has played a lot of college football, but hasn't been in that game setting in quite a while. So I feel like it did take him a while to kind of get acclimated. So maybe he can, with another week of practice, another week of review, can then jump with both feet in terms of being ready for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, there's no reason to think that he's going to get worse over the next 2 weeks. You're a great point with Sam, and I said it. Sims and Sam are actually pretty similar in how they play. Not the most reliable arm, but extremely athletic, a very good size, not afraid to use your feet, and they do have the power to make those downfield throws. It's just about the touch and the accuracy on that as well. Anything else that stood out that was of note in Kenny's Monday presser today following their loss to Cincinnati?
Yeah, I think it was a good opportunity to take another just step back and look at the big picture of where this program is at, what he needs to do as a coach, what the entire coaching staff needs to do. And I think that they're going to continue to try to evolve the passing game. He has mentioned that the trends do really point to them relying heavily on Jordan Tyson. So how can they open things up a little bit more? I know, Shimon has been great at the tight end position. X has had some really good moments, and they were really excited. And then, he had that injury, so they're hoping to get him back. But, you look at some of these really good offenses that Kenny has coached. When they're at their best, it's not reliant on one or two guys. It's that they can open it all up, and then that would even open up more lanes for Sam to tuck and run. So seeing that progression is what I'm most interested in here in the second-ish half of the season.
Yeah, so let's get your final thoughts on that. So Oklahoma State, UCF, Kansas State, BYU, Arizona. Some good teams, some bad teams in there as well. I know we don't know who's going to be the quarterback, and I know I'm putting you in a tough spot right now. But out of those 5 games, what do you think ASU's record is going to be?
I'm going to go... At the beginning of the year, I probably wouldn't have even thought to go this record. I think 3-2.
That's a good call.
I'm bullish on kind of where this team is at. And, again, they haven't been out of any games. So there's always going to be a shot that the ball bounces their way. They're able to take advantage. And that was something that just, frankly, didn't happen last year, where, number one, the ball didn't bounce their way all that often. And when it did, it felt like something would always be working against them. But I think they can grow a lot from this Cincinnati game. And look, who would have thought at the beginning of the year, BYU, ASU, November 23rd would have the implications that it could if BYU continues to do what they're doing and if ASU is able to get back on the right track. So I'm really looking forward to the second half of this year and seeing how this team grows and just continuing to navigate this new conference.
Where were you when BYU ASU was college game days, game of the week? Jordan, I appreciate you joining us. Obviously, you do fantastic work for Sports 360 AZ. People can follow you at Jordan Hamm on Twitter. That's Hamm with 2 M's. Is there anything else that you'd like to throw out there to have the people check out while we're on a bye week?
Yeah, we're just always continuing to try to put out different stories at 360. A couple weeks ago, I put out the 10-year anniversary of the Jail Mary, did a deep dive
Wow.
with, Burko, Jordan Simone, Jalen Strong, Todd Graham. So that was really fun to put together. I'm also going to be on the road with ASU men's hoops this weekend at Duke. So have a bunch of cool
Ooh.
stuff coming out with that. Bobby's return to Cameron Indoor. So
Wow.
really excited for that trip.
Yep, definitely keep track with Jordan throughout all of that. I'm sure that we will have you on PHNX Sun Devils another day, but for now, you have to go be a better teacher than Anthony Totri. So we must let you go there. Thank you so much for joining us, Jordan. I appreciate it.
Of course. Appreciate you, Ruby.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, guys. We will be joined by Ralph Amsden in just a little bit, but first, let's take a quick break. And I've got to tell you about our friends over at Sanderson Ford. Not just the best place to get a car, it's the best place to get the right car. Yes, the right car for you. It's such a stressful experience buying a car is. So many different twists and turns and papers and options and people trying to sell you something and you just don't know if they have your best interests at heart. But that is just not the case over at Sanderson Ford. They've been family owned and operated for over 3 generations. They care about the people in Arizona. They have everything to make your purchasing experience comfortable, and they're not there just to make a sale and get in and get out with a quick buck. No, they are there to put you in the right vehicle to have you leave happy. That's the most important thing to our friends over at Sanderson Ford. So make sure you get it all with no hassle, no pressure, and no nonsense over at Sanderson Ford. Some disclaimers: offers OAC from Ford Credit and expire on 10/31. For your next vehicle purchase or lease, choose the dealership that gives back and pays it forward. Make sure you go ahead and see Sanderson Ford for details. And if you are going to be trying to go to any of those ASU games, whether they're on the road or whether they're at home, you must get your tickets over with Game Time. But not just sports tickets with Game Time. No. You can go ahead and get any type of ticket you want. Concert tickets, check. Theater tickets, check. Comedy tickets, check. It's all there. I recently bought some concert tickets for my lovely wife to make her birthday the best birthday, and I was only able to afford them because I found them with no fluff, no extra fees that I didn't know about over at Game Time. You can see the view from the seat. You can switch on all-inclusive pricing, and they even have Game Time Picks, which gives you the absolute best options. You have to go check out Game Time. Plus, on top of all of that, you can get your lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will give you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Some terms do apply, but again, create an account, redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Oh, it's game time. And you know it's game time because guess what? Not only did I have the one, the only, the wonderful Jordan Hamm, but I'm also going to be bringing on the man who apparently officiated his wedding. So we have the entire wedding party from Jordan Hamm and Sarah Gazelle's wedding. That, of course, is Ralph Amsden. Ralph, my guy, it is good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing good, buddy. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great because I'm talking to you here on this wonderful Monday. Obviously, ASU, not the result that they wanted over the weekend, losing 24-14 to Cincinnati. My whole theme of this episode is don't freak out. Like, this is a road bump and probably a necessary one for not only Kenny Dillingham's coaching career, but where this program is. What were your initial takeaways from what was a disappointing loss in the moment on Saturday?
Yeah, I don't know. The game sucked. First of all, I should never be going on after Jordan Hamm anywhere. I know it's not Rock Band rules, but I'm the opener. He's not the opener. I'm the opener. And
he said the same thing, by the way. He not that he said I'm always opening for Ralph. He's like, I should be the opener for Ralph.
Incorrect. He's a liar and a terrible person. Don't listen to him. Also, he's better than me. He's terrible. I'm worse. Okay, so 7-0 interception. I was about to tweet, it's over. Like I was so. It's amazing how smart I am Sunday through Friday, and then on Saturday I just absolutely lose perspective. completely. And I was convinced that the Sun Devils were going to run away with it, looking as good as they did early on. Then you get a little risky. I know it's no risk it, no biscuit, but yeah, we risked it and got no biscuit. So I don't know what to say there. And then I don't know. I like quarterbacks to complete passes to wide receivers. It's a thing I like about football. It's not happening. So I was a little bit sad, a little bit mad, and then they started to gain momentum. They started to get things figured out, and that felt really good until we missed a couple of kicks.
Right.
And I may or may not have made a donation to the Sun Angel Foundation for the purposes of recruiting kickers in the future. And then I assumed that I would be the only person being a jerk about that whole situation. And I was wrong. So I ended up deleting it, and then I got a few messages. I will be conducting myself different in the future. It's not fair to pile on a kid, especially when you're in minute 56 kicking a 48-yarder and expecting that to be the difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, but it was kind of the easy thing to beat up on. It was kind of the easy thing to point out because it's been an issue all year, but other things have been an issue all year too. And if we're gonna hold the kicker to that standard, then that's gonna make things pretty unpleasant for a few other people on the team. So I'm kind of with you. It's probably best that we have some perspective and calm down a little bit. I was just trying to book tickets to El Paso for New Year's Eve. I just wanted to go to a bowl. So
Oh, well, I'm pretty confident that we'll be bowling. I'm
Okay.
pretty not to jinx it. I'm gonna knock on a lot of wood for that one.
how old were you in 2016?
How old was I in 2016?
Yeah.
I was 17.
Okay. When you were 17, Arizona State was 5-1. I was pretty sure we were going bowling, and we finished 5-7. So
Yep.
uh,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
it's
know.
not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed, for sure. I think there are a couple games that you could look at and say Arizona State should win that game. We'll get into that in a second. Lot to unpack from your opening remarks. So I'm going to go in chronological order, or at least as much as I can follow. Of course, the first thing that you mentioned was risking it without the biscuit at the end, at the beginning of the game, giving it and going for it on fourth down. Just had Jordan Hamm on, like I mentioned, and he was at the press conference for Kenny Dillingham this morning. Said that Kenny admitted that they're probably going to rethink their aggressive approach to fourth downs, be a little bit more tasteful with it. I think it's the right approach because I do like an aggressive coach. I like a coach that keeps a defense on their heels, but you have to have a little bit more context and awareness of the situation, especially with your backup quarterback, because I was with you. After the 7 points in the interception, I was like, ASU's here to play. And once they lost all momentum on the road, Ralph, they just really couldn't get back in the driver's seat. And that's something they couldn't afford to do without Sam Leavitt there on Saturday.
Yeah, I just think if you're going to be risky, which I'm all for, Kenny Dillingham coaches this team like somebody who grew up playing NCAA, and because he did. But use what works, use your strengths. If they had gotten Jeff Sims out on the run, instead of sailing a backward pass, which could have easily turned into a fumble, I would have felt better about it. You have the most athletic player on the field getting the ball in his hands every time. Let's see some of that athleticism. Let's put it to use. And so it wasn't so much that they went for it because they've been doing that. And you absolutely can as a fan, just keep hitting the snooze button on your angst for every time that they get it on fourth down, which they've done plenty. But I think it was more the selection. If you got issues with accuracy or you're not in rhythm early in the game, don't choose to throw it in that situation. Don't throw it to a point where you're further behind the line of scrimmage. If you're going to do that, then just snap the ball directly to Cam Slattebo and sink or swim with him. So it was more the play selection than it was being risky. it's house money time. So if he wants to go on it if he wants to go for it on fourth down every time for the rest of the season, I don't care. Just don't do things that haven't worked on 1st and 10.
Yeah. It's tough because there were a lot of fourth down play calls or even like late play calls that it just didn't make sense, against Cincinnati. And it's been a theme with this offense where, hey, 3rd and short, bomb it downfield. Right. And if it works, you're a genius. If it works, oh, look at how you scheme it up. But when it doesn't work, you're like, hey, man, you had the layup, take the layup. Don't go for the double clutch reverse dunk if you know that you can't hit the double clutch reverse dunk with ease. So I get all the frustration with that. And I also get some of the frustration with Jeff Sims. Now, I don't think Sims was one of, I would say, maybe the 2 or 3 biggest problems with Saturday's game. But I do think that he does limit your offense a lot more than if you have Sam Leavitt out there. What did you walk away from that game thinking about the Jeff Sims experience?
I thought it was fine. I thought he did great given what he was asked to do. But here's the deal. You have Kenny Dillingham calling him a future NFL guy. You have Marcus Arroyo earlier in the week saying he can make every throw. He can do everything Sam can do and more. He's wonderful. And I am all for hyping your players. But then you go out and you throw 9 passes in the first half. And then, so what you actually think of him comes through in the way that you call the game. Now, let's remember, this is not the first time that Arizona State has been down multiple scores to a Big 12 opponent this year. The other time they were down is the only time this season where they had more pass attempts than rush attempts. So you're in a similar situation. You're down 17, and until the final drive of the game, Jeff Sims only attempted 5 passes in the first 28 minutes of the second half. He is not who you told the fans and the media. Now, you're coaches who tell the truth, few and far in between, right? But he's not who you said he was. And I'm more worried about, hype your players, yes, but at some point, integrity, credibility, all of that stuff kind of gets to be called into question. And so if he can make every throw, then let him throw downfield. The one time he did, Jordan Tyson fought through a non-interference call to make a catch. If he can do it all, then let's see it. But the truth is, they don't fully trust him yet, and that's okay. He's new to the program, but you don't have to go out there and say he can do everything, because then fans are going to come into the game expecting to see everything. And when they don't, you've left a gap between their expectations and their reality. That gap almost always fills with stupid tweets or resentment or frustration.
I mean, the Sunday guy comment was always like, all right. All right. Again,
but Jeff Collins said it about him, and so did Matt Rule. Jeff Collins, Matt Rule, and Kenny Dillingham have all called Jeff Sims a Sunday guy.
Yeah, and I'd love to believe them. And honestly, I think the thing with Sims that frustrated me was actually not stuff that was super in his control. It did feel like they put some handcuffs on him. And I'm not saying open it up and just let Jeff Sims run the show, but there was a couple times where it was like, man, y'all really don't trust him. Y'all really aren't putting him in positions that, like, hey, we're going to trust you to make this play. We're going to trust you to make this throw. And one of the deep balls that wasn't completed when Jordan Tyson tripped over himself, I thought was a really well thrown ball. Like, I think he has the ability to make good throws. And I don't think there's any question that he has the ability to do a lot of things. He's built tough. He's built like a big guy who could run through somebody, and he's got good arm power too. It's the accuracy and the decision making that's always plagued him throughout his college career. But you would think in a coaching system like this that those type of mistakes and those decisions would be limited. And when they started to roll him out a little bit more and have him do some more things that involved some trust, you saw him be a little bit more successful. And I'm wondering if they just kind of took those handcuffs on him at the beginning, or off of him at the beginning, if we'd be talking about a different game here. But it makes me a little bit more confident about going now into a bye week and then Oklahoma State, because A, the last time ASU's coming off of a bye week, they won in a close game. But B, Like, this is a staff that's very self-aware. This is a team that's very self-aware. And they've said and they've proven that they'll make changes if they need to make changes. Whether it's moving people up and down the depth chart, even coming up to the beginning of the season, or if it's Kenny Dillingham in his press conference today saying, hey, we're going to change how we approach fourth downs. Hey, we need to change how we scheme for the rest of the season. Now, part of the reason why some people are speculating that he's going to change how he schemes for the rest of the season is because they might be expecting Sam Leavitt to be out longer than expected. At his press conference today, he said about 50-50 shot that Leavitt plays against Oklahoma State, even then going maybe 60-40 that he doesn't play. Honestly, if you're already saying that before bye week, I don't really expect Sam Leavitt to play against Oklahoma State. So let's say they scheme it up a little bit better for Jeff Sims. They put him in better situations. What's your confidence level with a Jeff Sims-led Arizona State team going up against Oklahoma State and even possibly UCF?
You'd be guessing. I mean, you'd really be guessing. And I don't want Sam Leavitt to play 75, 80%. Not the way he plays. He's aggressive. You like that. You want him to be full strength. You don't want any setbacks. He needs reps for the sake of his development. Mm-hmm. And so, him being full strength is going to be very, very important. With Jeff Sims, it really is confidence in in how they're going to use him. And I don't think anybody who watched that game against Cincinnati can probably be super confident in how he's going to get used without some more evidence. And I say that because of this. Arizona State's getting the ball back to start the second half, right? They're in a position right before halftime with about a minute and a half left where they get to a 3rd and 10. Okay? You are down 17 points. You have a quarterback who you've called a Sunday guy who Arroyo said can make all the throws. And then the one time you call a designed run is on 3rd and 10 with a minute and a half left. You play for halftime? Knowing that you're getting the ball back after the second half, some of the decisions they made seem to me to only be reflective of them not being 100% sure what they're going to get out of him, right? And at that point, they don't want to lose him. It is very important to this offense. It's very important to Marcus Arroyo's offense that the quarterback be mobile. Otherwise, you would have the one guy on this team that can throw for 300 yards playing quarterback.
Yep.
Right? Because now in the last 50 games, 5-0, Trenton Bourguet has the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 8 passing yardage games in the last 50 Arizona State games, right? But I don't think Marcus Arroyo has much confidence in what they can do if the quarterback's not mobile. So it doesn't seem to me like Trenton's going to play. So your running game is everything at this point. And the next, I think, once Jeff Sims gets in 2 more games, that's it for him, because he still has the ability to use a red shirt if he does decide to leave or only plays 4 games, then his career can continue. But if they're going to stick with him, understand he doesn't have any time left. Run him. He is the best athlete on your offense. Run. Quit even pretending. Use him like you used Cam Slattebo and Jalen Conyers at quarterback last year. And that's not to say, like, I don't see value in Jeff Sims' humanity. I'm not saying, like, drive it like a rental. But he is a rental quarterback.
Yeah.
You have for this emergency situation, and he is a supreme athlete. Use him accordingly, and you'll stick in games. Now, he's not as aggressive as Sam Leavitt. He's not going to put his shoulder down after he makes 1 or 2 reads to just make sure that the chains keep moving. So you're going to have to design that for him. But I think, I don't know. I don't see them. In a world where I think you could have a more balanced attack, I think Trenton Bourguet would be a good move here. But I also don't think Jeff Sims did anything wrong. They just didn't. They didn't call plays like he was going to be somebody who can go out and throw the ball 25 times.
Right. I think you need to not let him make mistakes, because if ASU turned the ball over more that game, then it would have been more of the same. They would have lost. But you need to let him go out there and just play. Right. And like you mentioned, he's the best athlete on your offense. He's one of the best athletes on your roster, period. End of story. And other teams know that. This is not some quarterback that's unknown. This is not some quarterback that has no tape on him. Like, opposing teams can figure out who Jeff Sims is before they play Jeff Sims, right? It's the blessing and the curse of having an experienced college quarterback as a backup. The blessing is you have an experienced college quarterback as your backup. So going in and playing a game, even an important game, they have some experience doing that, and they're not just going to go in and the lights are going to be too bright to the fact that they just can't handle it. But another part of that is, hey, sometimes the best part about playing your backups is that there's no film on them. There's no tape on them. You don't know their tendencies. You don't know what they're going to do. It's not the case with Jeff Sims. You need to play into your strengths, the same way that you need to play into your strengths just as a team. And we mentioned that Sims wasn't one of the biggest problems with ASU on Saturday. We're going to talk about what those biggest problems were. However, before that, we are going to take a quick break. Ralph's going to stick with me on the other side. I am in Studio K, of course, presented by Circle K. And our friends at Circle K, well. They have met thirst's match. They have taken it down, annihilated. Thirst is no more and will never be again because of our friends over at Circle K. Not only can you get fantastic drinks like your Polar Pops or your Frosters, you can also get a bunch of deals. But how do you get it for such a low price? You're asking me, Eric, let me in on your secrets. Well, I'm going to. I'm letting you into my inner circle. You can join Circle K's inner circle, their free membership program. It's so easy. All you got to do is download the app, enter your email, your phone number, and you're fully enrolled. By the time I'm done with this ad read, you can be a part of the inner circle. What else do you get? Well, you get 25 cents off your first 5 fill-ups, 25 cents off per gallon, that is. After your first 5 fill-ups, you get 3 cents off per gallon every day, and that goes up to 5 cents as well. So enjoy your member exclusive beverage deal. Inner Circle members like you can get any size Polar Pop or Froster for just 79 cents. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. And I'm rocking my Shady Rays. We got a brand new shipment of Shady Rays in the office today. I got myself 2 pairs. One of them is a little big on my face. I might have to get the likes up for you guys to see that one. But this one, ooh, the Oakmont, ooh, the Stealth, oh, it's so perfect. And they have the perfect shades for you. And how do I know that? Because 300,000 people have rated this independent sunglasses company 5 stars. That's 300,000 people. Lots of people. Bunch of different styles, different colorways, polarized shades, scratch resistant, plus the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by a lost or broken replacement. Plus, if you don't love your shades, exchange for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. So exclusively for our listeners, if that wasn't enough, Shade Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to ShadeRays.com. Use code PHNX for 35% off. Polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by 300,000 people. And just like that, we're back with Ralph. Ralph, if you had to point to one thing, the biggest problem, the biggest red flag from this Arizona State 24-14 loss to Cincinnati on Saturday, your answer would be?
The biggest problem for me is the inability to get wide receivers involved. And I know that's not like a big sexy thing. It doesn't fit on a placard or whatever. But that to me has been simmering frustration all year long. One that you choke down when you win, and one that just shoots out when you lose. Yep. They have 55 wide receiver receptions through 7 games. They're on pace for 94. Right now, 52% of all completions are going to wide receivers. 52%. You thought ASU was in hell last year? Elijah Badger had 60-something catches on his own last year. They were well over the total that they're on pace for. They have not had double-digit wide receiver receptions in any given game this year. And I'm starting to see fans online talk about, well, maybe our receivers aren't good. Has nothing to do with it. Has nothing to do with it. It is fully opportunity. You are not at the point right now where you trust your quarterback for the point of development that Sam Leavitt is in, and for just what they do and do not know about Jeff Sims, to use your wide receivers. And that to me is issue number one. Some people say kicking. To me, it's the inability to involve receivers in, because imagine how good Cam Slattebo would be doing right now. I mean, he's already incredible. Imagine how good he'd be if everyone didn't get to key on him all the time.
Right. Well, that's what Cincinnati did. Cincinnati knew what was going to happen. And I know we just talked about like let Sims play into his strengths, even if you know it's going to happen, but they knew that the ball was going to go through Cam Slattebo. They knew the offense was going to go through Cam Slattebo. And in any sport, basketball, football, baseball, you need to have counter punches to your haymaker, right? In order to open it up. Let's do a boxing example, right? Like a good haymaker is nothing without a good jab. Like if you don't set it up properly, if you don't hit him with the left a little bit, and now you got to move in, hit him with a body shot, and then you come in, bang, and you knock him out. If all you've got your right hand and you're throwing it over and over again, somebody's going to step to the side and knock you out, right? So you need to find a way to get him involved that's creative and in a sense where defenses don't know, hey, Four's getting the ball. And it does work. Like it works against some teams, but like Cincinnati was showing 3 just like Mississippi State did. But then instead of just rushing 3, they would all collapse in because they knew that Cam Slattebo was going to get the ball. So you mentioned the quarterback side of it. Would you say that the inability to get wide receivers involved, is that a problem with coaching, or is that coaches coaching around the deficiencies of the quarterbacks that they're putting out there?
I think you set everything out on the table and you say, what does Arizona State need more than anything? They need stability at the quarterback position, which means you sacrifice involvement this year for the potential of someone being in a system for multiple years for future health. I think that's the mindset of the coaching staff right now, because in the era of the portal, I think they look at what's happening at Florida State right now and say like, yeah, you could go all in for one person, but if you don't have somebody to fill in, when that person leaves, if you haven't established a culture, if you haven't found the right, if you don't have continuity, you don't have anything. And so I think they're trying to set up a system of continuity, and this is a willful sacrifice, like chess, like giving up your pawns for better positioning. Unfortunately, in that situation, the pawns are the wide receivers, and it's a talented group, and unfortunately, it's just how many stories were written about that walk-on kid in the off season that was tearing everybody up in every practice?
Drew.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero catches, 0 opportunities. Right. Jake Smith has 4 receptions. I was told in March by Kenny Dillingham he was the best player on the team.
Yeah.
Things change. Obviously, you
but
get
still, I mean,
and stuff like that. So,
a big drop off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which one of his 4 catches are your favorite?
Well, right, and I mean he's just turned basically into your kick return guy at this point. And I remember early in the season I was like, Levin and Smith, they're going to connect on one of those deep balls, and then they did. Like he connected on a deep one, but that's it. And it has, I think, come down to a scheming thing, and I think you do have to scheme around. Sam Leavitt's inconsistent arm, it's getting better and better, and he's young. Like I have no doubt in my mind he's going to continue to get better and be a very serviceable quarterback for his entire time at ASU, which is hopefully the rest of his collegiate career. We'll see, but hopefully. And Sims, of course, we all know the deficiencies that Sims comes with as far as how he plays, but sometimes it feels like they're missing, like I said it, like they're missing the layups, right? And they're not opening everything up. And while they are one of the best rushing teams in college football and one of the best rushing teams in the Big 12, they're doing themselves a disservice by not using all of their weapons. Now, I think there is something to say about Melquan Stovall's hands have not been as steady as they were, in seasons past. He hasn't gotten a ton of opportunities, but when he hasn't made a ton of it. X good in spurts. And I know at the beginning of the season, there was a lot of, hey, X is open, hit him, X is open, hit him, and he wasn't getting hit. Had that incredible grab against Kansas, obviously didn't play against Cincinnati, which is a really big hit. I mean, Shimon Matire has basically been wide receiver 2 the entire season. He's been that safety blanket, and I like it, but you just need to be able to spread that love out a little bit more. And I wonder if that's what they're gonna take in this bye week, and they're gonna say, you know what, like we do have to figure out that counter punch. We do have to figure out how to get Cam Slattebo more open, because one of the reasons why ASU was in any sort of games last year was because they just found creative ways to get stuff done. And it was out of necessity, right? It
And
was out of necessity.
last year, the verdict on last year is that's as bad as it could get as far as quarterbacking, right?
Yes.
Arizona State is on pace for 40 less wide receiver receptions through 12 games this year.
Right. It's
40 less.
it's one of the
Then
reasons
the
why
worst season ever.
Yeah. I mean, it might be. It was one of the reasons why I was confident when people started going down on this team that they were still going to be able to step up, especially from a coaching perspective. Because when you've been through what you've been through the season before, it's like you lose Sam Leavitt. Man, you still have more options at quarterback than you had for half your season last year. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a better roster up and down. You have a better offensive line. I don't think you have a better wide receiver room considering you don't have Elijah Badger, but you still do have your surefire number one in Jordan Tyson. You still have Cam Slattebo. You don't have Conyers, but Shimon Matier's been good. Like, you have all of these options. I'm talking specifically on offense, and you've seen what you have to do to get the most out of these types of players in way worse situations with way less talent. So it is a little bit surprising to me that we're sitting here and we're like, hey, they're not navigating this right now in the best way. But I'm not going to say it's nitpicky because these are very clear problems that are presenting themselves with this team.
Yeah.
But like, sometimes I call myself Mr. Spin Zone, right? And Mr. Spin Zone here is going to tell you why everything that Ralph just said actually turns out to be a positive, right? Throughout all the wide receiver problems, the quarterback problems, the inconsistency, the play calling, ASU has not really played what I have seen to be their best football almost ever this season. There's always been something holding them back, something that, that's not perfect. Yet we still sit here 7 games into the season, 5-2, 2 losses to 2 Big 12 teams that have combined for 10 wins through the season so far, 2 road games as well in tough places to play, neither of them blowouts. This is a team that is finding ways to actually win despite their deficiencies. Now, can they do a better job with those deficiencies? Absolutely. But Ralph, I find some solace knowing that this is not the type of program anymore that crumbles when things aren't going perfectly for them. This is now one that, hey, we're 5-2, but we got through 5-2 the hard way, through not just playing out of our minds at an unsustainable level of football. Like, they are going to get better, if they follow the projection, if Sam Leavitt's back, they're going to continue to get better than what they've been at this point this season. And that, to me, is reassuring and part of the reason why I'm not losing my mind after Saturday.
No. And I mean, if you're taking stock, Xavier Alford has been awesome. Keith Abney has been probably the best cover corner Arizona State has featured since Kobe Williams. Like, he's been amazing. The linebackers have been very solid. The defensive line has fought through injury to create pressure most of the time. This is a team that you're going to want to play for. If you're a recruit, if you're looking for a second chance, they are set up for success. I am going to blame Kenny Dillingham for why I'm still frustrated on a Monday after a loss, because everyone gave Kenny Dillingham the same grace that they give most coaches, to say this is a 3-year build, right? To the Jed Fish model, right? You fight through hell year 1, you're feisty in year 2, and in year 3 your culture is established and you show what you can do. Everyone has extended that patience to Kenny Dillingham, and it's built into his contract that he gets extra patience. He got an extra year tacked on already. The only person who has not given Kenny Dillingham that grace is Kenny Dillingham. He wants to win now. He wants to win 10 games right now. It's actually feasible, which is crazy. And so, you watch the way that this defense plays, you see the potential on offense, and you see your running back having an all-time year, just an all-time year. And you start to think like, okay, It's time to go back to holding this team to the standard of 2021 when Jaden Daniels, came back after the COVID year, or 2015 when all the players signed a letter saying they were going to the Natty before the season. It is time to, I feel like, adjust your expectations for what Arizona State can accomplish, because this is a really good team. And I don't think the Big 12 is up for grabs, but there is no reason why Arizona State looks at any of the 5 remaining games on their schedule and says, that's going to be a rough one. And that at the end of the year last year, all 4 of the final 4 games, it was like, I hope we survive. Yeah. And they won those. They won one of those. They lost the rest by like 200 points combined. But, Arizona State they can compete. And that's all we've really wanted for them for a while now. And so I'm like, I consider it a compliment to still be sitting here on Monday frustrated about what could have been, because there hasn't been a lot of what could have been lately.
I think you summed up perfectly how I'm feeling. The expectations have completely shifted for this team. And there's awesome things with that, which means the team's winning, which means that you have to hold them to a higher standard than where they were. But then that comes with the eventual, inability to meet that standard, that new standard that's been set. And that's why this is a necessary step. This is just another point in the process. The bamboo is continuing to grow. It's ahead of schedule. It's looking healthy. It's looking shiny. You're like, wow, look at the bamboo. It's way bigger than we thought at this point. Is it going to continue to grow like this? Well, you got to keep watering it. You got to keep taking care of it. And, Kenny's not the type of dude to stop doing that. Like you said, he has a sight set on 10 wins. He has a sight set on this team should be competing for a college football championship at some point and some point soon. And by God, he's getting there. Like he's at a point where we're in year 1 of the Big 12, year 2 of the Dillingham era. He has a completely reimagined roster pieced together through the transfer portal and injuries and a couple returnees. I mean, honestly, impressively enough, Cincinnati is kind of in the same place, but Scott Satterfield has a way more established coaching career so far than Kenny Dillingham has. I'm just talking age alone, right? But this is somebody who's shown that he's ready. He's ready for the challenges. He's ready for whatever process along the way and whatever road bumps, comes along with it. And I mentioned it before the Cincinnati game, Ralph. Usually I'd be going into that game worried that ASU is just going to blow it. They're going to suck. But, with all the problems that we mentioned, they lost by 10 on the road and lost by 10 when 2 kicks, missed, right? They lost by 10 when they lost the momentum 5 minutes into the game after being up 7. On the road at a 12 o'clock game, 9 a.m. for them and their internal body clocks. I was talking with Jordan Hamm before he came on, and it was like, man, you got to get yourself in a different mindset to like cover a game at 9 a.m. in the morning. And then I'm like, yeah, and imagine how they feel playing, right? And not that that's like a valid excuse, but I think all of those things just provide some context for where we're sitting. So as we wrap up here, Ralph, I'll have some things obviously I want to promote within PHNX, but I want to give you the opportunity to let the people know what you have going on in terms of Sun Devil and the college football world. So plug like an electric socket, my friend.
Just I see all the people in the chat right now, and it's a lot of the same people that come through Sun Devil Spaces on Wednesday nights, and I just keep coming back. PHNX is so necessary. It really is. There have not been many attempts to bottle the culture of being an Arizona sports fan, much less an Arizona State sports fan. There have been the pay sites, there have been the message boards, but that's not for everybody. It's really not. And so take every opportunity to exist in community. Be grateful PHNX gives you the opportunity to do that. And let's stick together. Let's be mad together. Let's celebrate together, because it's no longer a toxic environment. All the frustration at this point is for something, And so still super proud to be a Sun Devil. Very, very grateful for you having me on. And the only thing I have to plug is for the people that are showing up, keep doing it and tell a friend.
Yeah, and Ralph is a part of our diehard. He has his diehard card. I don't know if he has it on him. I'm not going to put him on the spot, but he is. Make sure that you become a diehard today. We're going to be rolling out some really new cool stuff with diehard membership, so you want to keep an eye out for that. I also want to mention Ralph hosts the Forkcast as well. You follow it at ASU Forkcast. Make sure you're supporting everything he does. I try to jump into Sun Devil spaces whenever I get a chance. Unfortunately, they got me working over here, man. So I'm a busy dude.
Congrats,
but whenever I get a chance,
buddy. Congratulations.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. You, of course, can also catch me on PHNX Suns. Season starts this week. I will be on the post-game show against the Clippers and, of course, on the Lakers. We have a watch party this Friday out at Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass. You want to come check out. It is absolutely free. Come watch Suns-Lakers with us. We'll be doing a live show from Wild Horse Pass after that as well. Of course, you can go to gophnx.com/newsletter to sign up for our daily newsletter, original writing from Patrick Brown, not just an amalgamation of links for you to click to other articles. No, it is absolutely one of a kind here in the Valley. Make sure you check that out as well. You can follow Ralph on Twitter at Ralph Amsden. You can follow myself at ERIKRUBY. We got the man behind the Mac making all the magic happen, who I so rudely forgot to introduce at the beginning of the show. That is our captain, Captain Redbeard, Kyle Cooper. You can follow him on Twitter at KCoopSports. Of course, follow the show at PHNX_Sun Devils. And Anthony Totri, he'll be back. I don't know when, but he's going to be back, I think, tomorrow. So we'll see. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, go Devils and peace.
We all silly like the mayor.